widest crosswalk I've ever seen in my life. Like a dingus, I forgot my selfie stick, so this is all old school, handheld. I'm approaching 18th and Taylor, and I'm just beelining it north to, I'm just staying on 18th as long as I can, to delve into a little cute piece of, I don't know what I'm calling it cute, a piece of Portland history, namely the earliest, or one of the earliest forms of public transportation, which was the streetcar system that started developing in the late 1800s. So the Portland streetcar era, it kind of started bringing us out of that, kind of horse and buggy. A lot of times people wanted to travel, they needed to travel by riding an animal or riding on some kind of a cart that had an animal pulling it. But by, again, the late 1800s, the city of Portland had developed what at the time would probably be considered a fairly elaborate streetcar system. It helped the expansion eastbound, because when Portland first developed, it was pretty much where downtown is today. That was pretty much Portland. There wasn't really a whole lot going on the east side of the Willamette River. And streetcars kind of helped in that development because it made it easier for people to get from, just getting across the river alone, it was helpful. But also, it was helpful in terms of, providing easier transportation means it gave at least some people more incentive to move to the east side, especially as, the west side, all this stuff over here was, kind of filling in, and you start having less and less space and the population is increasing. You need to start expanding elsewhere. So it helped with that, but also it was very interesting the way the system developed. One of my favorite kind of little pieces of history about the development of kind of the streetcars that used to run through the city way back in the day is the one that went up into the West Hills, which essentially, started down, more where I'm at right now, and literally you were just on a level track and then just went boom and went straight up. And there's all these great photographs depicting how you just went straight and then you just went boom. It's like you were just going up a ramp. And I see those pictures and I think about how, at that time, there was very elaborate technology for, again, the time and place. But at the same time, it was, still fairly primitive by comparison to our, present day standards. And our present day standards, as you may have noted when I was on a train, and there's a Max train coming to the station, not everything goes perfect today in 2019. Just yesterday, signal jammed, and people, like the train that I caught to go home, it could only go a few more stops before it literally had to stop because it couldn't go through to the next one because the signal was all messed up. So you think about, that stuff still happens today. Well, think about, going back over 100 years ago. And it just makes me think about, going through and then just start to hit that climb. And what if something breaks? What if something goes out and partway up you just stop and you just fly right back down that hill? Obviously I don't know the technology of the time. I'm not a old streetcar expert. They probably had some kind of fail-safe. Then again, maybe they didn't. But I just envision going back down that and just hitting that point where you go boom and then level again, just kind of bounce. Would you even stay on the rails? I don't know. I don't think they ever had a serious accident, but that's what goes through my head when I see those. I think like, man, people were fearless. But then again, it was either you had to be fearless, I guess, or you had to deal with other more primitive means of getting around. I know the line that went southwest Portland and into Lake Oswego, they cut a tunnel into the big hill there, but before then you went out and around it, and it was literally this shaky little wraparound bridge that threw you out over the Willamette River. And I would hear stories about, the train kind of waddling, rocks from up on the hill would fall down and hit the train and kind of make it, and if that train tipped, it was nothing but the river for the line to fall into. I've never been on this block before. Look at these really old houses. That's crazy. But as I delve into, what the hell is that? As I delve deeper into this piece of history, the reason I'm talking about this is there's just a few little interesting relics that I like to bring to your attention, because the line that went up the hill was almost right dead ahead of us. It would have started somewhere over here and just gone up and into the West Hills up here. And this little area up here, there's like, I think if you go up that street, there's like a little stairwell to get up there. Oh man, I didn't even notice that this house is all boarded up. This one might even be vacant. It's really old. But there's like a stairwell that gets you up over there. But as far as travel by vehicle, the only way to get there is to go under the highway through this tunnel. But yeah, the climb would have been dead ahead up here. It was just a long traveling up bridge. And there's not a whole lot going on up here. There's only a few streets and they all kind of dead end. And it looks like this is a pathway kind of leading up to, just leading you up along the highway. Vista Ridge Tunnel is literally right there, which is a tunnel that leads the highway through the West Hills instead of having to go up and over it. So all these houses are just kind of hanging over the top of it, but this fenced off area. Now, I have to give credit to Vintage Portland, which is a great website. I think it's Vintage Portland. I think it's a WordPress site, and practically daily they will post an old image from Portland's history. And this has been more cleared out again, so you can see more of it. It's fenced off, so I assume it's private property, and it's mostly overhung, but someone took pictures of this when it was more cleared out, but it's actually pretty cleared out right now. And they theorize that this might have been some way correlated to the streetcar line that, again, went right, pretty much right through here. But I think they were still only theorizing. I don't know if there's been... I need to go through the comments of the picture. Maybe that somebody knows for certain that there's just these old remains here. And there's obviously, there's a newer, house or apartment building up here. There's nothing over here. There's nothing there. I mean, it doesn't really suggest a building, especially since, this is all downhill. Like, what kind of building would have been here? And what I also thought was kind of cool is there's also a stairwell over here, kind of leads you up and behind. Where did that stairwell go? Did it lead you up to the train? I don't know. But they theorized that this might be in some way connected to the streetcar line. So, a little bit of mystery. But I'm not done in this particular area. This very closed off area. Yeah, I think I only go up to this next street right here and hook upward. Again, there's pretty much a dead-end street here, a dead-end street here, and a dead-end street up there. Like, this is literally the only way you can access this area. Now, there were, in a lot of the pictures, there's a house, this really interesting house. It almost has castle-like attributes to it, at least, in my opinion. It doesn't look like a castle, but it has just kind of that vibe. And it's this home that stands out. It's always in the background, or it's in pictures that were taken of this old, trolley line that shot, or streetcar line that shot up into the West Hills. There's always this really intriguing house that you'd see in the background. And it's my understanding that that house still stands today. It'd have to be incredibly old. And this is Cable Avenue, so it should be right up this road. And I am going to try to find it if I don't break my ankle before I get there. This is a very claustrophobic street. There's homes way up in here. So yeah, I'm just trying to, I know what the house looks like. So obviously this stuff's newer. These houses look older, but yes, found it. Here we go. It's looking in very spiffy condition. And I'm very glad to see that this home is still here, considering how new everything is around here. But this is the home that you'd see in the background of all of these pictures. Now, considering the trolley line would have been coming from here and going up that way, I'm guessing maybe we saw the home from the other side. Like, obviously, what's up here wouldn't have been here yet. But the trolley may have been climbing over here, so we may have just seen the front. Oh no. That's frightening. There it is. I don't know if anybody lives here. I really don't know. It's a beautiful, iconic house, and this is the one that always shows up in the background. Yeah, I want to say this is maybe the side that you saw. I'll have to see if the stairwells in the pictures. So either the trolley line was going this way or it was going up this way. So cool. And there's a, yeah, understandable, because this house has to be extremely old, but very distinct. It would have been distinct in its time, and it's even more distinct now, considering the fact that it's surrounded by all this new stuff. And then this, which is a little bit frightening. Yeah, I knew this stuff was in this area. I'd have to look at old maps to get the full picture. There's old maps that show the route, exactly where streetcars were going. I know, I climbed up to the top of Council Crest not too long ago, and I believe that's where the line ultimately ended up at. So I probably was passing in close proximity to where at least certain parts of the line were. Because again, logistically it would have been coming from this direction towards the river, just climbing up into the hills. But again, the house would have been here and the line would have been going right past it, and I don't know exactly if it was the front or the side of the house that you'd see in the background. But it makes sense that the house stood out so much when you think about the fact that these pictures are from, so many years ago, and none of these other places were here. There was that house and maybe 2 or 3 others in this area. And it's way up on the hill, so it's towering above everything. So it makes total sense that house would be as prominent as it was in imagery of the streetcar line that used to come up through here. Alright, so I want to thank you guys for coming out here with me today. This little crevice of southwest Portland. It's actually part of the Goose Hollow neighborhood. You can't really see the sign, but it's Mill Street Terrace. It goes up there, 18th. Again, through this tunnel's the only way you can actually drive up here, but there is, I think at the top of the road over here, like a little stairwell that goes down the street, which is kind of creepy because I looked at Google imagery of it, and like when you come out to the top, you're like right next to somebody's house. Like you pretty much come out in their driveway. Like that's a little weird that would be a little bit weird for me and the people living there if I went that way. But anyway, it's a complaint for another day. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching this little piece of Portland streetcar history, distant streetcar history. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe. Hit up my Patreon if you want to help me out that way. And till next time. Holy shit. Ghosts. Till next time, it's been Steve, the amateur historian. Catch you later.